welcome back. Well, as you can tell by the title of this video, we're going to be talking today about a gentleman by the name of Gerald Hege, former sheriff of Davidson County, North Carolina. He was the sheriff from 1994 until 2004 when he resigned. And notable sheriffs in history, just to name a few, we've got sheriffs from TV, like we've got Andy Griffith, and we've also got Buford Pusser from the Walking Tall movies. Got the old one from when I was a kid, and then of course the newer one. And then we've got, in real life, we've got a sheriff by the name of Joe Arpaio from Maricopa County, Arizona. Well, Gerald Hege may be, it may be at least in part a fair comparison to compare him to at least Sheriff Arpaio in Arizona. You may notice some resemblance in their methods of sheriffing. Let's see. He was the sheriff, like I said, starting in 1994. And notable things about Gerald Hege. When he was elected sheriff, it was by a margin of 261 votes. And that's probably the least interesting thing about his tenure and since he was sheriff. His campaign slogan was, "When I'm elected sheriff, I will wear a uniform every day, and there will be no deals for anybody." He had front license plates put on all of the vehicles for the sheriff department that said "no deals" in all caps. His personal patrol car was a 1995 Impala with a Corvette engine and nitrous oxide. And the Impala was referred to as the Spider car because he had the special paint job, which is you would have seen in the intro to the video, where it has it prominently features the Black Widow Spider and the letters DDT. His Impala and all other patrol vehicles had the windows darkly tinted black. His department lost its insurance coverage because he boasted he had driven his Impala at speeds up to 140 miles an hour. He ordered deputies to dress in paramilitary uniforms, fatigues, and combat boots. Gerald Hege also dressed this way. And it was, up to that point, it had been standard for sheriffs to dress in business attire versus wearing a sheriff's uniform. But he also wore the paramilitary uniform as well. Okay. And he also reinstated the chain gang prison labor. He removed all TVs and all books, with the exception of the Bible, from the county jail. The jail was also painted pink with blue crying teddy bears painted on the walls. The prisoners' jumpsuits were color coordinated to identify their offense and were striped instead of solid colors. If you had a blue jumpsuit, you were convicted of a misdemeanor. If you had a green jumpsuit, you were a convicted sex offender, and if it was orange, you were a convicted felon. He also carried a Heckler & Koch MP5 instead of a standard service revolver. He boasted that he had the robes of 8 former KKK members that he claimed he convinced to retire. He also claims that the mafia had a bounty on his head because he had slowed the flow of drugs through Davidson County, although that was not something that was verified. He was the star of a show on Court TV called Inside Cell Block F, which was filmed inside the jail. He was also on numerous other shows like Larry King Live, America's Most Wanted, 2020, just to name a couple. And also, before Kathy Griffin and her now a very infamous picture of her holding up the fake decapitated head of Donald Trump, the bloody fake decapitated head of Donald Trump. Mr. Hege did a similar photo op after 9/11 where he was in the desert featuring him wearing a black jumpsuit with a bloody sword and a fake severed head of Osama bin Laden, and it said "Happy Ramadan." There was a little bit of stuff, dust that got kicked up over that as well. For charity, he had his own line of merchandise that, which played off his persona as this hard-hitting sheriff that he was, and he also had that it included things like die-cast spider cars, like his vehicle, coffee mugs, even barbecue sauce. And he says that all of the proceeds from the sale of all of the merchandise and any sort of special appearances that he made went to charity. Okay, so what happened to force him out of office? Well, over the years, his misuse of county money. He also endangered deputies' lives in high-speed car rides. Alleged also racial profiling and negligence in forcing deputies to falsify criminal statistics. He was, on September 15th, 2003, he was charged with a total of 15 felonies and suspended from his office. Now, the charges include 5 counts of embezzlement by a public officer, 5 counts of obtaining property by false pretenses, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, 1 count of endeavoring to intercept oral communication, 1 count of aiding and abetting to endeavor to intercept oral communication, and 1 count of aiding and abetting to obtain property by false pretenses. And even though his thing was that he said he wasn't the no deals, his no deals philosophy, that he wasn't giving any deals to anybody for anything, but he himself did take a plea agreement in his proceedings. At the time when Hege was convicted of all these felonies, a convicted felon could run for the office of sheriff, which on the surface may seem counterintuitive, because if you're a felon, you can't carry a firearm, you can't possess a firearm. After his probation ended on May 17, 2007, he got probation for all of the charges, the felony charges that were against him. But in September of 2009, he entered the race for Davidson County Sheriff again. In August of 2009, the North Carolina State Supreme Court overturned law prohibiting convicted nonviolent felons from firearm possession. So his felony convictions were nonviolent. So this was a lucky timing for Gerald Hege as far as the firearm, the ability to carry a firearm went, and him running for sheriff. Eventually, it wouldn't matter because Hege lost in the Republican primary to the incumbent David Riss. He said he would try to run again. However, in 2010, an amendment was passed, and this was because of Gerald Hege. It was passed to the North Carolina State Constitution, barring convicted felons from running as sheriff. Even the nonviolent felons being allowed to carry firearms, they just made it because of him. If you are a convicted felon, period, you can't run for sheriff in North Carolina. Well, Hege returned in 2018, and by this point there was a change in 2017 in regards to the wait time that someone would have to wait to reduce, the wait time for someone to get their felonies expunged off their records went from 15 years that you would have to wait to 10 years. And this was at the end of 2017, in December of 2017, as a matter of fact. So at this point, he is able to run again. because he was able to bypass it the first time because there wasn't anything in place yet until after he tried to run and he lost. They enacted the law in the state of North Carolina, and then he was still able to bypass it because coincidentally being able to get the charges expunged off his record. But he was able, even though he did run again, there were challenges to the Davidson County Board of Elections to not allow him to run, but they denied that. They said that he was still able to run for sheriff, and he did run, and there was a field of 4 people, including him, and he came in third. And so at this point, and Mr. Hege's in his late 70s. He has stated as such that he's just, he's at an age to where, he's not quite, he doesn't have quite the same energy that he wants to for the things that were important to him and so on. And so at this point, I have not seen anything of late that would indicate that he would try to run again. And I think at this point he's pretty much indicated his age. I don't think he will. But it is an interesting case because, when a state actually makes a law based on one person, and the circumstances were just so interesting around that anyway, because I guess it's just, I don't think it's something you would expect to see. But that's it for today. Thank you for coming and listening to me talk. I appreciate it. And hopefully by the weekend, hopefully I'll have something up again. I thank you for your time, and see you later.